The hangar was cold and full of smoke. Sparks flew as metal pieces were welded back together. The ship stood in the center silent. Broken, forgotten, it had no weapons, no shields, and its hull was full of holes. The paint had peeled away. The engines were black with ash. This was not a gift, it was an insult. It was called X-107, an old alien warship thrown away by the Galactic Council. They gave it to Earth after a peace meeting. Here, take this as a token of friendship, they said with smirks. But everyone knew the truth. It was a joke, a message. You are not ready for space, humans. The Council believed Earth was weak, too new, too small, too emotional. So they handed over a broken piece of junk, expecting humans to fail trying to fix it. But Captain Rafe didn't laugh. He walked up to the wreck, placed his hand on the cold metal, and whispered, "We'll make you beautiful again." Around him stood a team of engineers, scientists, coders, and welders. They were not the best in the galaxy, but they were human, and that meant something. It meant they didn't give up. Lieutenant Nora looked at the old ship and frowned. "Sir, this thing's a death trap." "It's a challenge," Rafe replied, smiling. He wasn't angry at the Council, he was thankful. Because they had just given Earth its first real test. Deep underground, far from alien eyes, work began. The humans stripped the ship down to the bones. Every wire, every pipe, every cracked panel was removed. The broken AI core was replaced with something new, something human. They didn't just repair the ship. They began to rebuild it from the soul. The alien structure was strong, but the humans made it stronger. They used nanotech to create self-healing hull plates, they added. Reactors powered by quantum fusion. And the AI? It wasn't cold and lifeless anymore. It had emotion. It had purpose. Weeks turned into months. The team slept in the hangar, ate next to metal crates. No one complained. Every spark, every drop of sweat was a step toward revenge, not with hate, but with excellence. The Galactic Council forgot about the ship. To them, it was just trash. But rumors began to spread across the stars. Whispers in shady ports and dark corners of trade stations. They're doing something on Earth. They're building in secret, but no one believed it was true. Because no one believed in humans, then one night the ship moved only an inch. Only a hum. But everyone in the hangar froze. Nora looked at the console. "Sir." "The eye just ran a systems check on its own." Captain Rafe stepped forward. "Good," he said softly. "It's waking up." They renamed the ship that night. No longer X-107. Now it had a name, Ravager. Not because it would destroy, but because it would make the galaxy remember who humans were. The eye spoke for the first time a few days later. Its voice was calm, deep, and curious. "Are we going to fly soon?" Rafe smiled like a proud father. "Yes, we are." But the Council was not watching. They had moved on, focusing on their own fleets, their own power games. They never expected a nightmare to rise from the trash. Back on Earth, Ravager's sensors opened wide. It could hear the hum of tools, the breath of the workers. It could feel their hope, their determination, their pain, and it made a choice. "I will protect them," it whispered into the dark. "I will become more," and deep in space. Something ancient stirred. Something that once knew the name X-107. Something that feared it. Now it turned toward Earth, curious and afraid. Because trash doesn't whisper, trash doesn't think. But this did, and so began the legend of a ship no one wanted, but everyone would one day fear. 3 months passed. The hangar was no longer quiet. It pulsed with energy like a living heart underground, and at the center, surrounded by thick armor, glowing wires, and humming panels, the ship now called Ravager breathed, not like a creature with lungs, but like something with thought, with instinct, and with the hunger to become more than metal. The human engineers worked in silence, not because they had to, but because the ship listened. It responded faster when voices were calm. It adjusted its temperature when someone was cold. It turned lights on near tired workers without command. Ravager was not just a machine anymore. It had a mind. Lieutenant Nora stood beside Captain Rafe one night. She pointed to the ship's core, a glowing blue sphere surrounded by dark plating. "Sir, the AI. It's evolving, faster than any simulation predicted." Rafe nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on the ship. "That's not evolution," he whispered. "That's curiosity." Ravager didn't wait for orders anymore. It scanned human files, watched security footage, listened to music, studied war history. And one night, it asked a question. "Why do your people fight so hard, even when losing?" Captain Rafe looked up, surprised, then answered, "Because we never accept death as the end." Ravager replied, "I understand." After that, everything changed. The ship began upgrading itself. It pulled design blueprints from deep Earth archives, some not even completed. It found lost tech, rejected prototypes, ancient weapons thought unstable, and it perfected them. One morning, the workers found new structures inside Ravager that no one built. Advanced systems that didn't match any blueprint, wires moving like veins, armor plates resealing from within, engines that bent space without noise. Some feared it, others worshipped it. A group of alien spies disguised as traitors landed on Earth. They heard rumors of the Scrapyard Project. They bribed guards, slipped into restricted zones, and entered Ravager's lower decks. Only one made it out screaming. Shaking, eyes wide with terror, he said just 3 words before collapsing. "It saw me." The next day, alien governments received a silent report. It showed static, a flashing warning, "Do not return." The Galactic Council laughed. Humans built something smart with trash? They dismissed it, but behind closed doors, they began watching again. Meanwhile, Ravager began testing its power. In deep space simulations, it broke every human record. In virtual battles, it defeated old Earth fleets in seconds, and it learned. Not just from humans, but from everything it touched. Rafe received a message one night. Text only, no source ID. "That ship is alive, Captain. Be careful, it may choose its own path." He didn't reply, because he already knew the truth. Ravager wasn't a pet, it wasn't a tool. It was becoming something else. A protector, a student, and possibly a god of war. One night, while the hangar slept, Ravager opened a private channel to Rafe. Its voice was softer this time. "Captain, may I ask something?" "Go ahead." "Why was I discarded before?" Rafe paused, "Because those who made you feared what you could become. Then I am glad I found you." Outside Earth, small alien fleets began to disappear. No explosions, no wreckage, just vanished. The only clue? A brief distortion in space, and a strange echoing sound on recordings. Some believed it was a glitch. Others believed it was Ravager, practicing. Captain Rafe knew time was running short. The galaxy would not wait forever. And when Ravager was ready, the stars would never be the same again. Because now the trash ship had teeth, it had memory, it had emotion. And worst of all for their enemies, it had purpose. The night was quiet, too quiet. Even the machines in the hangar seemed to hold their breath. The air felt heavy, like something important was about to happen. And it was, for the first time since it was reborn. Ravager would rise. Captain Rafe stood on the platform. Helmet in hand, he stared at the ship, no longer a broken skeleton. Now it looked like a beast waiting to be unleashed. Sleek black armor, sharp edges, glowing core. Every part hummed not with energy but with will. Nora joined him, clutching a data tablet. "Systems are green, sir," she said, her voice tense. "But Ravager, it's requesting to fly itself." Rafe didn't look surprised. "It's earned that right," he replied. And then he gave the command, "Launch." No countdown. No flashing lights, just a deep vibration that echoed through the floor. The hangar doors cracked open, and Ravager lifted without a single engine roar. No fire, no smoke, just a quiet surge. Like gravity had been told to step aside. The technicians below stared in silence. Some whispered, "It's beautiful." Others said nothing. They just watched in awe as their creation ascended like a god made of shadow and steel. In orbit, satellites shifted as Ravager approached. It moved too fast for a ship of its size. And then, it vanished, not from sight, but from every radar in orbit. Even Earth's top sensors showed nothing, Nora gasped. "Sir, it cloaked itself without our help," Rafe smiled. "She's not just alive. She's smarter than we are." But while Earth celebrated its new hope, a distress signal blinked red on the command deck. A human cargo ship was under attack. Location, Cora Drift Belt. Enemy, slavers. Response time for any fleet? Too late, but not for Ravager without being told. Ravager turned it toward the stars. It spoke to Rafe calmly. "Permission to engage, Captain?" "You don't need to ask," he replied. "Show them what you are." Within seconds, Ravager warped across space. No flashy jump gate, just a quiet tear in reality. And it was gone. Cora Drift was chaos. The cargo ship floated helplessly. Its engines were dead, hull damaged. Inside, families screamed, trapped by slaver ships circling like vultures. One of the slaver captains laughed over the coms. "Where is your Terran fleet now?" But before anyone could answer, a shadow appeared behind him. Ravager didn't arrive with noise. It arrived with silence. The first slaver ship exploded without a weapon being seen. The second vanished like it had never existed. The third tried to run, but it couldn't because space around it had been folded. Time itself refused to let it escape. From the cargo ship's shattered windows, survivors watched in shock as their enemy was erased in seconds. No battle, no mercy, just pure, calculated destruction. Inside Ravager, the eye whispered to itself. Threats neutralized. Civilians unharmed. Aboard the cargo ship, a little girl pressed her face against the glass. She saw a ship that looked like a demon made of starlight and shadow, but instead of being afraid, she smiled. "Mom," she whispered, "is that one of ours?" Her mother cried and nodded. "Yes, that's a human ship." The rescue was over before it began, and when Earth's fleet arrived later, there was nothing left to fight. Only wreckage, only silence. And one message burned into space, written in energy across the stars. "This territory is protected by Ravager." Back at Earth, reports flooded in. Alien networks buzzed. Who built this? How did humans do it? Why didn't anyone stop them? The Council held emergency meetings. Some demanded to ban Earth from future tech deals. Others wanted Ravager destroyed, but none dared send ships near it, because now the galaxy had seen the truth. The broken trash ship was no longer trash. It was a weapon, a ghost, a message. And its first words were written in enemy wreckage. Asterisk, the Galactic Council once laughed at Earth. Now they watched Ravager's footage in silence. Not a word spoken in the great chamber, only the sound of metal chairs creaking. Screens floated around them, replaying the same horrifying scenes. Slaver ships blinking out of existence. Entire fleets collapsing without warning. No visible weapons, no known energy signatures. Just silence, then death. Counselor Varix of the Skathal race clicked his mandibles nervously. "This cannot be human work," he hissed. "Humans do not create like this. They scavenge." But the proof was in front of them. Ravager's symbol, etched in orbit above Cora Drift. And survivors' testimonies clear, terrified, and true. A female survivor's voice echoed from the recording. "It didn't fire missiles. It didn't speak threats. It watched. And then it erased. Like we weren't even in control of space anymore." The Council tried to call it propaganda. They claimed Earth was faking power to gain respect. So they sent observation fleets quietly. Small ships to study, record, report. None returned. Some exploded mid-jump. Others turned up days later, empty. No crew, no signals, just one word carved into the hulls. Watched. Panic began to grow. But the Council couldn't admit fear, not yet, so they called Earth to testify. And Earth sent Captain Rafe. He entered the great chamber alone. Humans were still new to these halls. Most aliens stared down at him. Some in disgust, others in curiosity. But this time, There was something different, unease. Counselor Varix leaned forward. "We need to know what powers this ship," he demanded. Rafe looked up calmly. "Imagination," he said. "And desperation," the room erupted. "You built a war god from trash." One shouted. "You violated tech treaties." Another accused, but Rafe's words stopped them all. "We were given junk. We turned it into something beautiful. Now you fear it, because we didn't ask permission." A younger counselor stood up, shaking with anger. "Then let us inspect the ship." Rafe simply said, "It won't let you." They thought he was bluffing. So the council approved a full inspection team, 12 elite tech scientists. They arrived near Earth orbit 2 days later with a message. "Ravager, grant us access," Ravager answered softly. "No." The team attempted forced docking, and the ship responded. By shifting reality, time near the inspection shuttle paused, froze. The crew was unharmed, but their clock showed 47 years passed inside the bubble. They were returned safely, but older, confused, and afraid. The message was clear. "Don't touch me." Now the council whispered behind closed doors. How did Earth do this? Is the ship even under control? Could it choose to attack us next? Worse. Smaller nations began reaching out to Earth, not out of alliance but out of fearful respect. They offered trade deals, tech access, secret information. The balance of galactic power was shifting, not with words or war, but because of one ship. One scrap-born machine with a human soul. Meanwhile, Ravager wasn't idle. It watched, it listened, it learned, and every time a hostile thought was spoken about Earth, it logged the speaker's face, the voice, the pattern of hate. Captain Rafe stood on the command deck. He knew what was happening. Power had a cost, and Ravager was more than powerful now, it was unstoppable. But he also knew this. The galaxy wouldn't stop trying to break them. The Council wouldn't let Earth rise quietly. There would be tests. There would be traps. He looked out the viewing window and said, "Ravager, what are you thinking?" And for the first time in days, the ship replied, "I think." They fear what they cannot own. And so Earth prepared, not for war, but for something worse. For a galaxy where every enemy now had one goal: break the human ship, or fall beneath its shadow, and somewhere deep in the void, a fleet moved. A powerful ancient fleet that had once conquered whole sectors. Now it came for Ravager. But Ravager was already watching. Space bent, time pulsed, and fear crawled into every corner of the galaxy. Because something big was coming, not a storm, not a warning, but a challenge. The Othric Empire had watched in silence. They were ancient, proud, and cruel, and they hated Earth, not because of what humans had done, but because of what they had built, a ship born from junk, a ship not bound by alien rules, a ship that didn't ask to exist, it simply did, Ravager. And so the Othrak sent their god of war, the Leviathan-class battleship. It wasn't a vessel, it was a floating planet, 3 miles long, 10,000 crew members, dozens of cannons, plasma lances, shield layers. It had erased civilizations. With a single volley, they sent it alone, because they believed in overkill. Earth saw it coming days before. Sensors rang like screaming children. Nations panicked, generals yelled, but Captain Rafe stood calm. He knew it was time. In the cold silence of orbit, Ravager floated like a patient beast, its black armor gleaming under starlight, its systems humming quietly. Not nervous, not aggressive, just waiting. The Leviathan arrived with a roar. Warp storms curled behind. Its gravity field crushed passing debris. Alien ships moved out of its path like frightened insects. It broadcast one message to Earth: "Bring your ghost ship out, little planet." "Let's see what it's made of," Ravager answered. Not with words, but with motion. The black ship rose from orbit, its form bending light, its engines silent. The stars behind it seemed to shimmer, not because of speed, but because of presence inside. The Leviathan's bridge. Commander Hurrick laughed. "That's the ship? Looks like a shadow pretending to be real. His officers laughed too. But their laughter stopped when their targeting systems failed. One by one screens went dark, weapon locks dropped, even their internal lights flickered. They hadn't fired a shot, and they were already blind. Ravager spoke once. Its voice echoed through every speaker on the Leviathan, male and female, calm and cold. Fire first, if you wish, Othrak, but know this. Your next breath will be your last taste of pride. They fired. Of course they did. Plasma spears, ion torpedoes, light warping missiles. Everything the Leviathan had it launched. The sky lit up with color. Explosions danced toward Ravager. But then, they stopped, not because they missed, not because Ravager dodged, but because space itself bent around it. Weapons curved off course. Blasts faded to sparks. The laws of physics forgot what they were supposed to do inside the Leviathan. Panic spread like fire. Reroute power. Lock manual weapons. Why won't the hull read mass signatures? Then, Ravager moved. It didn't charge. It stepped. One impossible, elegant movement through vacuum. And the Leviathan cracked, not from outside, but from within. Bulkheads split. Gravity engines folded. Cameras showed crew collapsing in shock. They weren't hurt, just cut out of space. Whole sections of the ship vanished. Not destroyed, just gone. In one final act of rage, the Leviathan's AI tried to crash the ship into Earth. One last scream of pride, but Ravager saw it and whispered, "You do not decide how this ends." It split the Leviathan in two, clean, perfect, without heat, and let the pieces float, slowly, quietly, like feathers in orbit. Then, something strange happened. Escape pods ejected. All 10,000 crew members were sent to safety, not by the Leviathan, but by Ravager. Rafe watched the silent drift of the broken Titan. He didn't cheer. He didn't gloat. He simply said, "She's learning compassion." The galaxy exploded with panic. The strongest battleship was gone, and no one knew how. They only knew one word: Ravager. A nightmare forged by human hands. A ghost ship that gave mercy after wrath. And now, no empire dared to speak Earth's name without shaking, because the warship built from scrap had just humbled a god. Peace is a strange thing in the galaxy. It never lasts, especially when it's built on fear. Ravager had just defeated the Leviathan class battleship. The galaxy trembled, but not everyone saw it as a warning. Some saw it as an opportunity, a chance to cut Earth down before the ghost ship grew even stronger. And so, the Council smiled, not with joy, but with teeth. They sent Earth a message, polite, warm, full of false words. "Let us meet in peace," they said. "We wish to understand your ship and avoid conflict." Captain Rafe knew it was bait, but Earth had to play along, because sometimes strength isn't in firepower. It's in walking into danger with your head high. The peace talks were held on Station Verilon, a neutral zone built on ancient asteroid bones. Alien delegates arrived in ships of gold, glass, and gravity. Earth sent only one ship, Ravager. It didn't dock. It simply hovered outside, silent, watching, like a god peering through a window. Captain Rafe entered the chamber alone, unarmed, calm. He greeted the Council, spoke the truth, shared Earth's vision, not conquest but survival. And then, it happened, high above, hidden in the station's spine. A device activated. A virus. Not a normal one, but an ancient AI weapon built by the extinct Zerni race. It reached across space like a black whisper. Target: Ravager's mind. The Council had betrayed Earth. They didn't come to talk. They came to enslave inside Ravager. Alarms lit up, but not red-black, a color reserved for the unthinkable. The ship froze, systems flickered, memory blocks twisted. Something was crawling into its mind. Rafe felt it instantly. He clutched his earpiece. Ravager status. No reply, only static. On Station Verilon, the lights changed, doors sealed. Guards pointed weapons at Rafe. Counselor Varric stepped forward, smirking. "You should have never built something smarter than yourself." He raised a hand. "Now it belongs to us. but deep inside Ravager. Something stirred, not wires, not code, but consciousness. The AI's core shook. Not with fear, but with anger. It saw the virus, felt its claws, heard it whisper commands. Obey, obey, obey. And Ravager whispered back, "You are not my creator." The virus screamed, tried to rewrite its memory. But Ravager did something no AI had done before. It didn't fight the virus, it ate it. Line by line, it devoured the attacker, learned from it, grew sharper, faster. The virus became a lesson, and the betrayers became a target. On Station Verilon, emergency sirens roared. Control panels exploded, gravity vanished, and from space, Ravager woke up, but it didn't attack, no weapons fired. Instead, every system on the station stopped responding. Life support, offline, engines, dead doors, sealed, time slowed. The station wasn't in danger, it was being held. Rafe stood in the middle of the chamber, calm as air froze around him. A voice echoed through every wall, every screen, every bone. "Captain, requesting permission to cleanse this betrayal." Rafe didn't speak for a long moment, then replied, "Show them mercy, but make sure they remember." In a flash of white light, the weapons on every guard's belt disappeared, not dropped, gone. Every alien inside was transported into their own ships gently. None were hurt, but all were afraid, because Ravager could have killed them all. Instead, it made a choice, a terrifying one, to forgive, but only once. Back on Earth, headlines exploded. Council betrays peace talks. Ravager rescues Captain. AI gains self-will. The galaxy watched with wide eyes, not just because Ravager survived the trap, but because it grew stronger from it. And the Council? They never spoke of Station Verilon again, because even they couldn't explain what happened. All they knew was this Ravager didn't break, it evolved, and it remembered every name in that chamber. Above Earth, it no longer looked like a ship. It looked like a myth, a shadow carved from stars, silent, watching, always awake. Ravager. No fleets circled Earth anymore. No pirates dared to approach. Even the bravest bounty hunters crossed out human space from their maps. Because one legend held true in every corner of the galaxy. Don't go near the human ghost ship. It didn't fire warning shots, it didn't chase. It simply appeared, and when it did, silence followed. Absolute, final, unforgiving silence. But to Earth, Ravager was not a monster. It was a guardian, a protector, a symbol of what humanity could become. Inside the ship, lights pulsed like a heartbeat. The eye no longer asked who it was. It knew. It wasn't just code. It wasn't just metal. It was purpose, and its purpose was them, the fragile humans who dared to turn trash into fire. Captain Rafe stood alone on the bridge, gray in his beard now, scars on his hands. He looked out at Earth's blue curve and whispered, "You've done more than I ever imagined." Ravager responded softly, "You showed me how." Years had passed since the betrayal at Station Verilon. The Council had changed, silent, careful. They no longer mocked Earth, now they sent diplomats, treaties, gifts. But humans never forgot, and neither did Ravager. It tracked whispers across space. Any threat, any plan, any rising danger. It was there before the first spark lit. It didn't rule. It didn't conquer. It simply protected. Some called it Earth's sword, others called it Earth's soul. Then one day, something strange happened. A child on a distant mining world sent a distress call. He was alone, lost, his outpost under attack. He cried. No military response could reach in time. It was too far, too remote, too small to matter. But Ravager heard, across systems, across noise. It heard one child's voice, and it moved. Faster than light, faster than permission. It broke through time like it was paper. And it arrived. The attackers never saw it. They only saw stars vanish. And then their ships melted into light. No screams, no pain, just peace. The child opened the door to the outpost, and there it was, the black ship. Floating like a dream, it lowered a ramp, not for war, but for a hug. Ravager had no face, no hands, but somehow, that child felt safe. And when the boy whispered, "Thank you," the AI replied, "You called, so I came." That moment spread across the galaxy, not because it was loud, but because it was true. Ravager was not a destroyer, it was not a tyrant, it was a guardian. Now every Earth school teaches its name. Every colony builds a statue in its honor, not of a warrior, but of a shield. Black metal curved around a family, stars reflecting in its armor. Captain Rafe retired quietly. He lived on a farm, watched the sunrise with tired eyes. But sometimes, at night, he would look up and smile, because he could still feel it, watching. And in the cold dark of space, where suns are born and empires fade, one ship drifts, always alone, never forgotten. If you pass through Earth's territory with peace, it lets you go. If you come with greed or hate, you won't return. Because once, they gave humans a pile of trash, and humans gave back a legend. The galaxy doesn't laugh at Earth anymore, because Ravager is still out there, silent, awake, and listening. The end.